Hey everyone, today we're chatting with Jenni Gregory, an artist who has worked for Tops, our Parks Cards, Viceroy Cards, and a lot of other companies. But Jenni also does a lot of other things with comic books, photography, and is also quite knowledgeable in technology. So hi Jenni, I can't wait to talk with you today. Welcome.
Hey, I'm so glad to be here. Hi, Lindsay.
Hello.
Hi.
I was going
It's
to
great to
start
be
by
here.
maybe speaking about art when you were young and where you wanted to go with it, and well, how you first fell in love with art. I
Um,
think we should.
oh, that sounds like a great question. My mom loved to draw. I'm the youngest of six, and she would draw around me. She'd do these really neat little fashion designs. That's what she had wanted to do, was fashion design. And she had this really cool retro sort of style. But that was probably my first introduction to art. And I grew up right outside DC, and my mom would always take me to the Smithsonian's. So I learned, a lot about seeing different styles, being around art, and just going to museums was fantastic. But that was something really important she taught me is the value of art. There were a couple times if there was a big art display coming, she'd let us skip school and we'd go up to the Smithsonian's. But that was what art meant to her. So that was a really cool lesson for me. But yeah, I think museums are fantastic, and I think it's a great start for taking kids there and as an introduction. I mean, they always love to draw, but seeing what's out there, being able to incorporate art and history. So we've always been big on going to galleries and art shows with our kids. But yeah, I've always loved to draw. I always started out drawing horses. That was what I guess every girl does. I don't know if you guys did.
Yes, absolutely.
See, I don't know why, but yeah, that's what I always had wanted to do. But then I just started drawing, and in school I got into drawing. But when I was in college, I studied psychology. Uh, um, and every kind of new class I took, I'd always want to switch my majors because everything fascinates me and everything sounds so fun to do. I'd be like, I want to do that. I want to do that. So my parents hated when I called because I was always switching majors. So but that's probably why I work in a closet, because it's less distracting, less shiny things so I can keep occupied with that.
Have you ever explored the psychology of an artist, of being an artist? Or?
I don't know. Creativity in and of itself is a fascinating thing, to look into, like why we create, how we create, what it means to us. For me, I find it fascinating that we've always had art. The civilizations may be gone, but we still have those cave drawings. The first thing that we always want to do is to communicate, whether we use that as art, or marking down, I was here, some of those drawings you can think of as graffiti, but, that handprint on the wall. But yeah, I mean, art is communication, and there is a lot of psychology in that.
And storytelling, it's also I think it's also humans love stories and have always loved stories, and I think maybe they were also telling stories of what they did that day, or I don't know.
The hunt. Yeah.
The hunt, yes.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and that's how we know some of these animals that are extinct, like the auroch. We see those on the cave drawings.
Yeah.
And they left their mark there. And I think that's fascinating, and it shows you how important art is to everyone, every culture. So, but
one thing that makes me a little bit sad to see when I see it, you see the cat paintings and they've got human faces, or the horse painting and they've got a human face, and everyone laughs at them, and they look bad, but nobody realizes that back then, wherever they were from, they were not allowed to paint anything that didn't look like a human face. So they had to try and get around it somehow, and they had to make the animals look as human as possible. And it's so sad that they weren't able to just express exactly what they wanted to express.
That's true. And I couldn't imagine not being able to do that. That would be, so hard as an artist. You can't say you're forced into into a certain mold of what you can produce, and that would be awful. And that's, I think a lot of times in your religious art, how you see the people and they're dressed in the current times of that era when it was done, like the Renaissance, you see, the religious art wearing those kind of clothes. So we always put our stamp, somehow we have that stamp on there. But yeah.
Oh, yeah. So when did you first get interested in sketch cards?
Sketch cards. Usually how I get into these things is someone says, hey, you want to try this? Or what do you think about doing? And that's kind of how I did it. I had been working in comics, and then one of my friends was saying that they need artists on a sketch card set. At that time, it didn't pay anything, but I didn't know anything about it. And so I started doing that.
May I just interject? You said it didn't pay anything? Who did you work for?
I don't know. I can't say. There were a lot of sketch card sets when I first started out.
How long ago was it that you started?
Maybe 5 years I've been doing them.
Okay.
I think probably about 5 years I've been doing sketch cards. But then I started working I did some sketch card sets for Chad Pops. I don't know if you know them. I've done, I'm trying to think, because there's been so many. I did Viceroy, and I did, I'm doing work with Richard Parks, which I absolutely love. And then Richard Fowlkes, which I absolutely love. So that's been fun. I had been doing sets for Martin Kuklinski. He does a lot of like the Island Dreams, and he'll do a lot of sets for charity, which I just think is really cool. So I like doing those. But when I was doing one of the sets, Richard they had done a Kickstarter for Mystery Science Theater. And Mystery Science Theater is like everything to me. I've always loved it. And so that first set went by, and then I saw a Kickstarter for Richard doing the second series of Mystery Science Theater. And that was the first time I'd ever really approached anyone about doing anything. So I was really, really nervous, but I sent Richard some cards and I told him how I love Mystery Science Theater. And so I've been working with him ever since. And I've done, I think from the second to the fourth Mystery Science Theater set. And I've had a blast working on those. So that's probably been my favorite set that I've done. And then I've worked with another company, Rusty Ink, on his Wizard of Oz set, and also a set on dinosaurs, which was really fun to do.
Oh, yeah, I did that set too, the dinosaur set. Cool. Yeah, that was fun to do.
I love that.
I would do dinosaurs in a heartbeat. And the Muppet Show, in case anybody wants to do the Muppet Show.
See, it's kind of cool because you have those things that you really look forward to doing, like the Muppet Show. Mine was Mystery Science Theater. It's like after doing those, anything else is gravy. I'm like, okay, that's fine, but more Mystery Science Theater. But no, that's what's fun too. And I got to do like a Zorro and a Dracula one.
Oh yeah.
So it's working on those things that you love. That's really makes it fun for you instead of like just okay, here's another of those. Yeah, I like that.
So I started questioning you the wrong way around. So you did comics first, and then got into doing some sketch cards.
Sorry, I jumped. I'm still doing comics. Actually, I do comics, and then my day job is working with comics too. I do it as a freelance, and then I do it as comics. But how I got started is when I was dating my husband, he never told me he was into comic books. I didn't grow up around comics, so I really didn't know they existed. But then he introduced me to them, and I'm like, okay, you can introduce, you can do art and you can do story, and it sounds fantastic. So I did some freelance inking, and then I wanted to tell my own stories. So I started a book called DreamWalker, which is about a girl who goes into people's dreams. I self-published that for a while. Then I went to Caliber. Avatar, and then back to self-publishing. And then I did a book called, or a thing online when comics were first coming out on the internet, called Abby's Menagerie, which was about extinct animals. Yeah, I do freelance for other people. Right now I'm doing covers for Michael Cohen's Tangled River, fantastic series. So yeah, I do that. But I think comics are fascinating, and we're getting more girls into comics, so that's fantastic. But I like introducing girls to comics when I go like to my kids' classrooms. I used to, talk to girls, especially, this is what comics are. You don't have to have just superheroes. It's any kind of story you want to tell.
That is fantastic that you're trying to get, some girls in there too. And comics can be absolutely anything, and it doesn't have to be rainbows and unicorns for girls and war and weapons for boys. I mean, there's all kinds of things that can mix and just do whatever it is you want, and just being aware of it. Girls are very often discouraged from in North America. I don't know how it is for you, Lindsay, in your neck of the woods, but I do know that here, when I was younger, you didn't go into a comic book store by yourself. You just didn't do that. If you were a girl, I mean, that was not something you did.
Well, I went to art college, so everybody else at art college was a little bit like me. They liked comics, and they liked, they liked the things that were a bit wacky and out there. So I don't know. I don't know how it's been for the mainstream or whatever, but it seemed fine with all the people I was with, because we're all interested in the same things.
That's great.
Not sure, to be honest.
Well, over here it was a little bit different, but that's really great to hear, Jenny, that you're kind of spreading it around. That's fabulous.
Yeah,
it's really good.
Well, it's fascinating. We do tend to think of comics so much as just superhero, and that's great. But I like introducing comics in that you can tell anything. Just getting people to read is such a big thing. And if that's what, gets you to read as comic books, fantastic. If that's what gets you to draw as comic books, fantastic. But I think, art and reading just makes your brain work so differently, and whatever gets people, to read, explore your world a little differently.
Can stimulate your curiosity, and then you go look up something you saw in the comic book, and you can go look it up in another book somewhere or something. It can just kind of snowball like that. That's fantastic. So so you actually work as a day job in art, and then sketch cards also. So your career is art.
It is. It's what I do for my day job is I work at Kablam. We print digital comics for people from all over the world. People anywhere send us their files, and we print them and we send them their comics, and then they can also sell their books on our online comic shop. So it's pretty cool, because I do comics at home, and then my husband and his friend Thomas started this company, and just to get people to be able to do comics. Whereas when I first started comics, you had to have a big print run. Like we had to print 3,000 comic books at a minimum, going on an offset press. So the great thing with digital comics now is you can print one copy, or you can print 5,000 copies, whatever you need. So you don't have to invest, the money into a 3,000 copy print run that's going to sit in your garage. So
no, it's amazing.
It's pretty cool. It makes it so much easier to break into comics, because so many people didn't know, okay, I have a comic, now where do I go? When I first started out, we had Quebecor, Brenner, those kind of things, but you had, the minimum print runs of those many thousands of copies. Whereas now,
that's what puts you off. It's the minimum print run that puts you off ever having them printed, because you're like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to sell these, and you're going to have thousands of comics.
That's it. Yeah, that's it exactly. When I started with DreamWalker, I had done 17 issues of it. And when we moved to our house, I had literally a garage of just overprint. of books, and we just got rid of them. There's just it got so taking up so much space, so we got rid of all that overstock. But now you don't have that. You with print on demand, you can order one, you can order 30, whatever you need. You print just for what you need, and it makes it so much easier for a creator to get into comics and to get their books out there and to get something under their belt. So
that's fantastic.
That is awesome.
The world of printing for pretty much anyone has changed enormously in the past 15 years, I'd say. Well, yeah, more than that, for the past 20 years, 30 years. I mean, it's just not the same as it was. Now, pretty much anyone can either just be an author, write a book, create an art book, create comics. You can even do your own sketch card sets, actually, and you don't have to really do 10,000 boxes or something like that. It's mind-boggling what you can actually do now. So what comic books?
We don't need the gatekeepers anymore either, do we? We
That's
don't need the gatekeepers that say, yes, we're going to do this. It's like, well, I can just do it myself. So
that's it, exactly.
It might be more difficult to get noticed, but the gatekeepers are out there. That's right.
Yeah. But see, and then again, that's something too, is you have the internet to help you along, and your Facebook groups you can go to, and Instagram. And that's sometimes that's really hard, is being able to market yourself. Marketing is such a pain in the butt. I have a hard problem with that, but that's a venue that's a lot more accessible to everyone now, and that helps, I think, help us to create and get our stuff out there. So
yeah, even though there are those who still kind of resist the being online, there actually are some artists out there, and I'm trying to convince a couple of them to come on and chat with us a little bit and share their point of view on it too, because how do you market yourself if you're not online? Is not something I totally understand, but I'm sure that there's a way of doing it.
Yeah.
What comic books are you working on right now?
Right now, I'm doing really is working on the covers for Michael Cohen. I'm working on my next series for me that I'm hoping to have out in the summer. But yeah, it's weird trying to find the time. Once you have kids, it's like your time just whatever. So before I had kids, I was putting out a book pretty consistently, every other month. Now my own self-published stuff, maybe 5 years, 6 years. So.
That brings me to my next question. I'll just put it in here because I know I'm going to forget. How do you balance your family life and then all your different, because you have your fingers in many different things, actually, your comic books, sketch cards, and photography, which we'll get to later, and technology, which we'll get to later as well. How do you manage all of that without going bananas?
I manage it poorly. It's hard. Sometimes you have to shoehorn it. You have to, I guess, prioritize. I have my day job, and there's some times where we don't come home till 7 or 8, and we have time with the family. When I have sketch cards, I work usually in here, but a lot of times I'll take my stuff and I'll work in front of the TV so I can be with the family. Like I have this little board. I have a little light on it so I can put my card here and work while we're watching TV. It's making it's finding ways to make things work. And sometimes I think for me, I found that you got to go with the flow. You got to be easygoing. My family's great, very.
Wow.
That's it. You gotta, there's times you're just all stressed out, you got that deadline, but you try to make it work. Sometimes you miss it. A lot of times you order pizza for the kids, which makes them very happy. They go feed themselves while you try to finish something up. But yeah, sometimes it can be tough, but you also kind of gotta treat it with humor. And
That's a really good point. That's a really, really, really good point, to try to find the humor in
some. You'll cry. That's how it goes, isn't it?
And there's days you do that. You just go in the bathroom. You're like, I can't do this. But yeah.
I was showing Ingrid this earlier.
Oh.
That's
your work pile.
Right? Oh yeah, and there's more coming.
See, I was watching some of your previous shows, and the turnaround, you would have like these 200 card sets that you'd have to turn around in a month, and
that's
15,
that's a long time ago though, and 200 was minimum. I mean, there were artists that did 1,000 cards. For the rest of us, we were often asked to do extra ones, so it was like de rigueur to do 200, 300, 400, sometimes more, you know. But I mean, there was a different time. I mean, it's not, I mean, I would quit the whole thing if we had to do that now. I wouldn't bother. There's no way I would do that. But yeah, it was a different time, and it was, you didn't do finished painted cards or anything. I mean, you were lucky to get a few circles and stuff.
See, I couldn't imagine. When I was listening to that, I'm like, how would you function like that? I guess when you're doing sketch cards, that's what everything, but with family, work. My
kids were younger back then. It was different too. Yeah, my kids were both younger back then. It was tricky.
Yeah, I'd be like giving them, here, sketch this.
I thought
try Yoda right here.
I did think of that actually.
I know. It's like two of my daughters, they love to draw, and every once in a while you're like, okay, come on, do you want to do it? You can do it. But no, we never do. They're not interested.
I would absolutely love to publish a kids' art set. I love kids' art. It's just so innocent.
That's a great idea, Lindsay. That really would be actually a great idea. It'd be very unique, and each card would be even more unique. I mean, that's a fabulous idea.
That's the next card set. That would be fun. Have the people that you talk to have their kids do a card set.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's an amazing idea. Kids of the artists. Oh, I love it.
Lindsay, we have to put that on the list. We have to put that on the list.
Yes. But it is the way the kids view the world, what's important to them. That would be kind of a fun thing to do.
Oh, absolutely. Especially the world we live in now, which is like, bonkers, really. It would be interesting to see how kids of any age see the world, from small to teenagers. How do teenagers see the world now? I have no idea. It was totally different from when I was a teenager. I can tell you that.
I know. Yeah. I mean, we think of how hard it was, back in the day. But now the things that the kids are,
they're challenged with different things than we were. I'm not saying the world was better or worse back then. It was just different. That's all. Yeah. I look at my two kids who are adults now. What they face and what each of them face in life is quite different from. There are, of course, some things that are the same, but the climate that they work in is very different.
Yeah.
Speaking of climate, then that has nothing to do with my next thing. I'm going to kind of leave you and Lindsay to chat a little bit, because we'll kind of get into some of the tech, seeing as you have a bit of knowledge of tech, and you've obviously worked with a lot of tech with the different jobs you've had. Like, for instance, iPads for artists. Lindsay is in the market for one. I have one.
Do it.
Oh, it's awesome. And it's, you can work in front of the TV with your family when you have an iPad sometimes. But yeah, the technology and other tech that you might be aware of that might be helpful for artists or publishers or little people like us. And also some of the photography knowledge that you might have, because you do work with a little bit of photography as well. So chat about, what do you think is a good iPad, an entry-level iPad for someone who's new to the ecosystem of Apple and all that?
Honestly, any. I love them. I will show you my first iPad. I think this is the 4th generation. It looks regular, And then when you turn it to the
Oh my
side,
God.
you can see the bend. So,
For those who are listening to the audio and don't see that, Jenny just held up an actual iPad that should be completely straight.
there's the
Well, it's kind of like the
bend.
curvature of the Earth right now. It's kind of bendy.
It has a definite bow in it. And for a while there, Apple was saying, no, it wasn't like that, doesn't happen. And then it became more and more of an issue, and they finally acknowledged that, yeah, there was a design flaw with this. And I think what they finally came down to is how we hold, the iPad. We hold it braced against us.
Yeah.
And I think that's, that what causes it. And then I think they changed some of the materials in the subsequent ones. But this was my first iPad, and I absolutely love it. I have one, this one, I don't remember what the size of this one is, but this is great because it just fits in my purse. I can carry it with me anywhere. It's really, really portable.
Is it a Pro or an Air? Do you know?
No, it's not an Air. This is a smaller one. I don't remember what version this is.
It looks like a similar size to mine. Mine's an 11-inch, and I love it because I can stuff it into anything. Yeah.
See, that's the thing. Yeah. Now I want to say maybe this is a 10-inch. Maybe this is a 10-inch one, I think. And then I do have the new Pro that I absolutely love. And so there's a little bit of a size difference, with those. Maybe is that the size you've got?
Oh, mine's an 11-inch, as you can
the
see.
11-inch.
11-inch.
There you go.
Someone like me who's looking to, I mean, I enjoy sketching traditionally, I always will, but I want to colour on the iPad. So for somebody who just wants to do dead simple colour job, would they need a Pro? Or do you think
no, I mean, you can definitely do just your basic iPad. I happen to have a Pro, but I happen to have a basic one, and this is just as fine. This is absolutely fantastic. You've got your pencil. Some of the best programs that I love with the iPad, I think, that are necessary are Procreate. I think it's like $5. Now I actually do comic work in Procreate. A lot of the new series stuff, some of the covers I've been working on lately are all done on Procreate. And I know a lot of people are like, no, you got to use Clip Studio, and absolutely perfect, absolutely fine. I have that on here too. It's another drawing program. But there's actually a lot of programs, just for you to sketch and just for you to color on. So,
there are actually a lot. Yes, that's true. Your pencil was an extra, I think. It didn't come with your iPad, did it?
No, that is extra. I am actually more of an Android person than an Apple person.
You're kidding.
And I do. I love Android. The phone I'm actually on right now is a Google phone. I think it's more open, and less expensive. I really do. Apple stuff to me seems it's more of a hardy investment. It is. So you've got the cost of your iPad, and then you've got your pencil. These are about $90. The other, I think the next step up one is about 140, 120, something like that.
This one was 125 Canadian, so that would be 99 American, something like that, maybe. I don't know. But I think it's really indispensable. I don't think you could really draw without the pencil, could you?
No. Now there might be some other companies out there that have some things. I know there was like a one made by, I want to say Crayola, I think, that they have kind of a knockoff you can use with your iPad. I've never used it, but you can't. I don't think you can really beat the stylus, the iPad stylus with your tablet, no matter what you get. So
could I ask you about? I mean, what's confusing me with buying an iPad at the moment is the amount of generations that there are. I don't know the difference between this gen and that gen, and I mean, I realize it's the
Well,
latest one that's come out, but
you don't want the generation that does this. But,
well, good point. So they
Does
do change. They do.
you know, I would stick within the last couple of generations. I really would. You're going to get a better price for them. Unless you're one of the really super techie persons that appreciate the extra, speed or something like that, which isn't really going to affect most people. Go for that. Sometimes, do you have Best Buys down there? It's
We have something similar. We don't have actual Best Buy.
a lot of. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I think she froze there. Just a second. She'll be back. Up there.
Okay. No, what I was going to say, sometimes they'll have like returned iPads or something, and you can get those for a little bit of, little cheaper, that kind of thing.
Would you say that that's worthwhile getting a second-hand one, or would you go for new? I mean, they're refurbished, aren't they?
Yeah, I don't know. For me, I'd probably go new just because I like new shiny things. So, but I mean, if you want to do a secondhand one, perfectly fine. If it works great, give it a test run, make sure it works great. But personally, I think iPads are a game changer. So
I'm sorry, I've got my cat interrupting this whole conversation. She keeps coming in, rustling all my papers, going out onto the landing, scratching the carpet to try and get my attention. She's been doing this to me all the way through talking to you. Come here.
She just wants a snuggle.
She wants food is what she wants. Sorry, back on topic. My word.
You kicked her out. Oh my gosh. Poor thing.
Stop scratching the carpet though, so she'll get her own back.
So do you think it's going to be difficult for someone like Lindsay to kind of maybe adopt the iPad and drawing on it? And do you think it's going to be a bit of a learning curve? Or because I know that I'm the same as Lindsay. I like an actual piece of paper and a pencil and all that stuff, but I've gotten used to the fact that I can actually sketch on this and I don't have to throw out paper all the time if I'm not going to be using it, and I can draw on top of my own sketches and stuff. Do you think it's going to take time for Lindsay to get used to that?
You know what? I think she'd take to it like a duck to water. I really do. It opens up a whole new world for you. If you want to look at a pencil, there's pencils you can get, you can download, you can create your own. If you want textures, brushes, anything you want on an iPad, I think you can create your own in any of the programs. But I think it opens up the whole world for you. It speeds you up so very much, when you're drawing. And if you want to doodle, that's great. Think of this as your portable, sketchbook. So for me, I always think of sketchbooks as kind of like your diary. Your sketchbook is what you want to do. It's like no one else can see it. That's your time.
Yeah.
But I think she would totally love having an iPad. I think it opens up a whole new world and is a game changer for anyone.
So you think that maybe Lindsay wouldn't need the very latest model?
I don't know. Does Lindsay want the very latest? That's the question.
I think I'm just figuring out what's the cheapest one I can get that's going to do what I want at the moment.
Yeah. Well, go to your store, play with the different ones and see what you like. I like new, bright and shiny. I really do. But do you need the big 11 one? The 12, I think mine's the 12. Do you need that? Yeah, probably.
You think?
I vote for
I like the idea of being able to put it in my bag.
I vote for the 11-inch. It is a bit smaller, but you can bring it anywhere. You can stuff it in just about any bag and bring it anywhere. I vote for the 11 one.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
I'll
and
be off which one I bought next time.
I hope you get one. I just think it's one of the best things you can use. I really do. I've got a tabletop desktop Unova tablet that I use. It's right behind me right here. And that's great, but I have to come in here and draw on it. Whereas this, if I have to wait for someone, if I have to go someplace or I'm killing time in an office or something, I can pull this out, I can write, I can work on photos, I can draw, whatever I want to do.
Another rather cool thing that really made it like, oh my God, okay, I'm going to be sketching on this. The one little thing that I had not thought of is that on the iPad, either if you're using Fresco or Procreate or whatever, once you start sketching and all, you can turn the paper around as if it was a real piece of paper. So when you like to draw, if you want to move your paper around and stuff, which I can't do on a like a Wacom or something, I can't turn the paper around. But on this thing, you can turn the paper around just as if it was a real piece of paper. That's like, now that's game changing for me.
See, yeah, it's those little things. Do what?
Or can you do that? Is that only a feature of the Pro when you can change where the paper is, or can you do that on the standard?
No, you can do that. You can do that on any of them. No matter what program that you use, you can always rotate the page that you're working on.
You do have to make a few adjustments to your touch settings, though. I've discovered that if you try to change it around with like 3 fingers, well, then all of a sudden you've done something you didn't want to do. So yeah, the touch settings, you do need to play with that a little bit. But once you get into that and you figured it out, you can really just draw as if you were drawing a piece of paper, turn your paper around, or the iPad or whatever. I know.
Curious about the Apple Pencil.
There's something you might
use it.
Oh, you're breaking up. You're breaking up, Lindsay.
Oh, is it me? Sorry. I was going to say, on the Apple Pencil, is there a rubber on it? Or do you have to select eraser? I mean, have they worked in a feature where you can turn the pencil around and...
You can...
Actually, what you do, there's an eraser in your program that you can use, or you can double tap your screen and that's going to take you back a step. But there's erasers in your program. So...
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wondered if there was a quick one on the pen.
Yeah. You can also change those shortcuts.
Really fast. Yeah.
Yeah, you can adapt the shortcuts and do like double tap, and then it will change to whatever you want. It can be either an eraser or a pencil or a pen or whatever you want. You can change that around. I think it's going to take you a little time. It took me a little time, but
it will. Something I noticed when I was drawing or coloring, my hand would do something and it would take me back a couple steps, and I'm like, what happened? So something I work with now is a glove. You might want to get one of these where you can, it has the cutout, but it's going to have this up against the glass instead of your skin, so it won't react. It won't do those little funky things that happen to me all the time whenever I'm coloring on it.
Oh, that's excellent. I may get one of those then.
Yeah, it's really worth it. There's been a couple times where I'll have something all totally finished and my hand will hit the screen wrong, and it takes away the last couple of things I've done, and I can't get them back even doing the 3-finger thing. So I'm like, oh. But
good to know. Very good to know. Lindsay, do you have any other questions on the iPad?
I think I've got everything I need now. I'm very excited. I can't wait.
I think you need to. I would do it. It's so worth it. From art to answering a message to using your messenger. There's so many fantastic things that it's good for.
I do need to put the money into it, because like 5 years ago I bought myself it was a desktop Huion, like a cheap drawing tablet.
Yeah.
It was only 400 quid. I could never get a straight line with it. Every time you drew a line, it would just go. It was basically just worthless, and I'd wasted 400 quid. So I'm going to invest properly and get an iPad and an Apple Pen
Now
And then
there's French curves you can get for Procreate, and I know for Clip Studio too. But you can also use your French curves directly against your tablet. So
yeah.
Yeah, you can, that's right too. You can actually use rulers and whatever
yeah,
you want if you wanted to, which I never used, but you could do that actually.
yeah.
Cool, yeah. And you can take pictures with it too. And the camera, well, mine is it's an 11, I think it's an iPad 3, which I got, open box and stuff like that, which is totally fine. But the cameras are actually pretty darn good. So you can take pictures of your sketches and that you've done on paper, bring it in and continue working wherever you need to go or something,
Yeah, I
Yep.
need one, don't I? Rather than taking a photo here and plugging it in there and doing just all in the one place. Awesome.
Yeah. It really is. A lot of times, like if there was a time I had to do a cover, and I couldn't get what I wanted to do, and I had my iPad with me, and then I had a sudden idea, and I'm like, Molly, go sit over here. I had my iPad, and then I was able to pull it into Procreate, and I built my cover around the photo. So yeah, it's
Awesome. What is there anything you're wanting to promote at the moment that you're working on that you're very excited about?
Oh wow. Right now I'm just working on a bunch of things. I guess probably Michael Cohen's Tangled River. I did a cover, my husband's book called Funny Man. I did a cover for that. You can find that in,
or is it a written book? Is it?
it's a comic book. My husband does a lot of, in addition to running Kablam, he's a writer and then also a comic creator. And he's doing some of the Golden Age public domain characters, John Amon, Funny Man, Blue Beetle. Then we have those up on Indie Planet. He's done some Kickstarters, and I've done some covers for those. So, but yeah, my books are available at Indie Planet, and that book, and then also Tangled Rivers there, as well as in comic shops. So, and then working on the sketch card stuff.
So are there any upcoming sets that you're allowed to mention that you're working on?
I don't know. I don't know what I'm working right now on Richard's, one of Richard's things. I don't know if we can say.
I don't know.
Yeah, best not say if we don't know.
That's the thing. See, and that's one of the things too, when you're working on things, people are like, well, why aren't you posting your art? It's like, well, you can't until it comes out. So it's like, but I'm really working on a bunch of things, but I just can't show you what it is right now.
Yeah.
People don't get to see half of what I do, because it's just you're just drawing all day long, aren't you? And then you can't post it, and then by the time you finished it and sent it off, you're working on something else, and then you forget to post it, and it just goes on and on and on.
Well, see, if you had your iPad, you could take your photos while you're doing it, and then after it comes out, you can just immediately post it. See?
All the signs are pointing towards the iPad.
I think they are. You need to break down and do it. And you're going to get it, and you'll be like, why did I wait so long?
Yeah. And you can always bring it back if you decide it doesn't work for you, but I seriously doubt you'll be doing that.
Yep.
Jenny, can we chat a little bit about just, actually we had touched a little bit on that, of the photography part of things, and how, if you have any tips for artists who photograph their own work as opposed to scanning and things like that. Yeah.
That's one of the things I'm still learning on, how to scan my artwork, or how to photograph my artwork. But most of mine is the sketch cards. I usually photograph with my phone, or I'll scan in. But something we were talking about earlier is having the little portable light boxes. They're tiny, they're fantastic, and that's going to give you really good light to be able to light your cards or your small paintings, to be able to photograph them. So, but yeah, you can find those on eBay, or not eBay, but eBay and Amazon, and they're not very expensive at all. So, but those are going to be a great resource for photographing your artwork really well. So
for people watching the video, this is one of the things Jenny's been telling us about. This is the little light box that you can get.
I have never seen that. I have never ever seen that.
Different colors for your
They're-
background as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're fantastic. You can change the background. It's great because you can, if you want to, once you pull it like into Photoshop or whatever photo editing program, if you've got some wrinkles, you can get those out, and it's going to be easier for you to adjust the levels, the balances when you're shooting with a light box like that. Light is critical when you're using photography. I mean, that's what it is. You're capturing light. So having those little boxes is really going to help you with photographing your light or with your little art pieces.
So you can get those on Amazon?
Easily, yeah. Or at a lot of most of your photo hobby stores are going to carry things like that.
Never seen them at any of my local craft stores or art supply. I've never seen that. Never in my life have I ever seen a box like Lindsay just showed. Do you use one?
I don't. I need to get one. I want to do more like, when I do photo, I'd like to do some product kind of photography, like still lifes, things like that. And things like that are fantastic. But it's just the white really helps you photograph and capture your colors better. So I think those are really beneficial to us creators when we're photographing our work. So
I could easily see that it would be useful as someone who works with acrylic, which is basically plastic. Like I was telling you before, scanning in acrylic is, I find anyway, really challenging because the light bounces off the acrylic paint in a weird way that it doesn't do when I used to use Copics, or sometimes if I use oils or something, they scan in pretty well actually. But the acrylics is very hit and miss. So I may get one of those like you have, Lindsay, and see how that goes.
Give it a try.
To ask Jenny, I completely forgot to ask you, Jenny, what materials do you use for your traditional work?
I really do. I use everything. I use Copics, I use watercolor, I use gouache, I use pencil, I use ink. It all depends on I guess my mood of the day, or what that particular thing is. But I guess art supplies to me are also like tech stuff. I love trying new things. I love seeing what's out there. So I will use anything and everything on my sketch cards. I have some glass shards that I haven't used yet. I've used them on paintings, but I haven't used them on sketch cards. But I'm dying to. So, but yeah, I going to like a tech store is, people love clothes. They love to go do makeup and jewelry and clothes. Mine is like, take me to a gadget shop or an art supply store. I'm happy.
I love art supply stores. Been there all day. Try that.
Well, they're so fun. You're like, okay, I could use this for this project. And a lot of times, like there's new products that are coming out, like the mix of oil and acrylic paints that I've not tried. I've seen them, but
I have not seen that. I know that you have you've got the slow drying. There are some slow drying acrylic paint, which actually I've tried and
didn't like them, or
they're very watery. When you put a pile on your paper, they kind of just go away. So it's kind of like you're painting with very diluted paint, and I don't like that. I like it when it's solid and buttery and soft, but not too not too solid, just solid enough.
Yeah.
Then you have the oils that actually mix with water, which I don't like either.
Okay, that's one of what I've heard about too. So that's not very good.
So what you're talking about, the mix of oil and acrylic, I have not heard of these. Please explain.
Oh, well, I've never used them. I've just seen them. So I need to try those. That's one of those that I need to buy and play around with.
I want to hear about it. I want to try them too. You have to tell me where you go. I really want to try that.
There's, that's one of the things I miss too, is finding good independent, like bookstores and good independent art shops. So many times when you go to the art shop, it's all the same, you know, finding just the guy that carries the crazy things. You know, everything's like Michael's or Hobby Lobby. You know, just the big, or you know, Walmart carries art supplies now, but you miss going into those little shops and finding the unexpected art supplies or needful thing that you didn't know that you needed. But
Yeah, we have none of those shops anymore. They all closed. They all closed years ago. It's so sad.
so now, what do you have down there? Do you have to order your art supplies, or?
You-
I have to get them on Amazon and eBay and places like that.
Yeah.
Because it comes in quite handy because it keeps all your taxes on, you know, in the system kind of thing. So when it comes to taxes, it's dead easy to just add it up. I'm not one for keeping a ton of receipts and, you know.
Yeah.
we actually have a Michael's here, and I've gone in and there was absolutely nothing I could use in there.
Aww.
It was but where I usually get my paints, it's actually shockingly a quote unquote local store. They have several branches. It's called Hashem, and they have all those amazing oils, acrylics. They've got them all, and when you're a repeat customer, you get a percentage off, which is really, really nice. The downside is that I have to take an hour to go there and another hour to come back. They do email. I mean, you can get it by mail, but their website, because it's a small company, it doesn't always have exactly what it is I'm looking for, and I have to go to the store, you know. But you know, it's an aside, a detail, you know. I tend to make a big list, and then when I'm able to purchase them all, I go, and the price of gas is going up like crazy too, so one has to
That's true.
to multitask when you're traveling. So I do that, but they don't try the new little things like the mix of watercolor, of acrylic and oil. So I can't wait to share where we can try that.
There's just, it's neat when you have things like that. Like, I don't use them a lot on cards, but like the pencils that are also watercolors. Those are, it's neat what's out there and what we have access to. So it's fun to see that.
It makes our day real interesting to play with all those toys.
It does. We need it. But yeah, I mean, that's what's fun is I've never used oils on a sketch card. I
have. I really like it. It's just it takes so long to dry that it's not practical. You know, if you have a short deadline and stuff, you know, you got to leave it at least a week, ideally 2. So you know, that's not feasible. And then, of course, there's fumes. In the studio, I share an office with my other half. You know, he has his side and I have mine. And the oils and the turpentine and all that, it creates fumes. And I have asthma, light asthma, but still aggravates it. And it's not good for him. So it's one of the reasons I don't do oils very often. And acrylic is kind of a compromise. But I'm fixing on the new thing you were mentioning, the oils.
You had mentioned fumes and asthma. I have asthma too, and I had found this new thing. I don't know if you heard of them, called acrylic inks.
Yes, I have heard.
I love them, and I was using them in a very, very small space, and I ended up getting bronchitis. I didn't realize the damage, how it messes up your lungs. But yeah, I had got really bad bronchitis from using those in a small space. So when you use those kind of things, you got to make sure you're in an open, airy spot.
There are actually certain Copics that will damage your lungs too if you're in too close a space. Well, I shouldn't say that. I'm using the word Copics as the whole brand thing, but there are some of those that are similar to Copics that actually have fumes, and you must be careful not to.
They can be strong.
Yes, they can be strong. And if you're in a small space like you're in right now, I would not suggest using them.
Yeah. When do what?
Or an airbrush.
I have never played with an airbrush, and I want to. They look fantastic. The results that you get with them.
They are cool, but they're so noisy, and it just irritates me. It's like really industrial, and it vibrates, and you're like, shut up.
Now, is that our airbrushes your favorite medium? Is that what you're most comfortable with?
No, I hardly ever use it just because it takes so long to set up, and it's so noisy, and the fumes and the plus, if you don't clean your nozzle out properly, it'll just splatter everywhere, and it's too much caretaking for me, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I just stick to Copics and colour pencils, maybe watercolour. I'll mix them all together. Like you, if I get a certain feeling for a set, I'll think, well, I'll just do it like this. But I'm not a big fan of acrylic and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I get impatient, I think.
See, that's why I've never worked, like I said, with oils. Having to wait that time for it to dry, that would drive me nuts. It's like I want to play with it now, or I want it to be finished now so I could put it over here. But I love the look with them. Yeah. They're gorgeous.
It's a whole different thing. It's extremely satisfying to play with. It's a bit of a learning curve, and it's not quite the same as acrylic, because acrylic, you get used to the drying times, and you have to really get a move on because it will dry, even if you do have extenders for it, but still you have to kind of keep moving along. But with the oils, it's like sculpting. You can move the paint around, and you can have fun with it. And it's great, and you can leave it for a day and just keep going because it's still wet. So that's
yeah, that's the good thing. Yeah.
So yeah, there are good points and bad points, but like the airbrush, Lindsay, you were explaining the airbrush thing, that would drive me absolutely crazy. As it is, you have to clean up your brushes when you paint, which is, as far as I'm concerned, I hate doing that, but you have to do it. But with an airbrush, you have to deal with the noise too, and then cleaning all up. Well, I would never do it. What are your favorite tools, Jenny? Your very favorite? I mean, if you didn't have to bother with anything and you could just do that, do you have a favorite?
Watercolor.
Really?
I love watercolor. When I'm in my sketchbook, my private zone, I love anything I love painting flowers. But you can also do some fantastic portraiture stuff, using watercolor. And then it's fun to try different brands because you get different results with using different brands. Some of them have more of a mineral content. It's neat to see how each one reacts to different papers and different brands in medium. But and I'll mix those too. Sometimes I have this this cool set I got. This was on from Amazon. It's watercolor, but I use this on my sketch cards a lot. But it also kind of, you can make it be more opaque. But this is a really good set. It's from I think it's from Japan, but yeah, I got that off of Amazon. But that's one of my favorite watercolor sets too. So
interesting. Lindsay, have you worked with water? You mentioned that. I think you have worked. Which ones do you use, Lindsay?
She's playing with the cat.
I'm just laughing at my watercolors. It's just a little portable watercolor tray. I've
got one just like it. I have one just like it, Lindsay. And
I've got this one too. So.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
But that just means you love them. That means they're well used. So
exactly.
That's awesome, Lindsay.
That one you've got, that big one, looks great. I'm gonna have to invest in some better ones because I do enjoy watercolor. Just because I can put a bit of dark on and then just pull it out, be like that, done.
They're really cool.
I'm creating for definition and sorted.
Yeah, I enjoy it how you can build with it, and I like how quickly they dry. But yeah, watercolor has always been something I enjoy, and that's something like people ask, do you have to have an expensive palette? I'm like, well, it depends on what you do, but if you just want to be a hobbyist, just play around, you can even get some of the cheap watercolor palettes for like $5 at Michael's, whatever gets you painting. So
it's a shame that we can't really use watercolors on many of the trading cards, sketch card sets. The paper is very often not quite ideal, shall we say.
Oh, I know. Yeah, that makes a big difference. That's one of the things I really like about Richard is he has the cards that, they take a beating. So I like those, but there's some sets you're just like, how am I going to do this? It eats up Copic. You can pretty much only do pencil. So
a lot of the sets I'm doing for a lot of the Chinese companies, their cards, every single one I've got has had that sort of rough surface that's perfect for watercolor. So if you did want to do more sets in watercolor and you want some contacts, I can help you out there. But like their cards just perfect for it.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, do you guys gesso, like, especially when you're using oils? Do you guys gesso your cards, or you just go straight on it?
I don't. I go straight in. Mind you, I don't paint, so I suppose I don't need to.
There you go.
The only time I've ever gessoed is on wood cards. Otherwise, I don't.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Otherwise, unless it's a card that's maybe like super thin, which is really rare now that I get cards from companies that are that thin. I don't gesso at all, no. But the wood cards, because there are a few companies that use wood cards, that you almost have to in several layers, and then some sanding, and then painting on top of that.
Oh, that's cool. Did you like working on wood for sketch cards, or is it hard?
It's different. It takes me a few to get used to it. It's slightly different surface and all, but no, it's fun. I love it. Absolutely love it. I think wood cards are. Tops did some wood cards too several years ago, that was my introduction to it, and I was like, wow, that's just so cool. I didn't have the technique for it then, but now I understand a little bit better. I think more companies should include it. It's probably expensive for the company, I suppose, but I think it would be fun to. Have you ever tried it, Lindsay, working on a wood card?
I don't like it. I can't do it. The last ones I did, I wasn't happy. It just seems to eat the paint up so quick, and I'm not a great painter anyway. If I could have done watercolor on them, but you can't do watercolor on wood. It has to be,
just Lindsay, you could try putting a bit of some gesso on, sand it down, and then maybe not with watercolors, but you might be able to use something else to sketch on it or draw on it or something. I don't know. You could take one and play.
What I really fancy doing is varnish. Like getting loads of different colors of varnish and creating a.
Oh, now that's an excellent idea.
I just think it'd look gorgeous. I mean, I know varnish is awkward to paint with, but I don't know. I've just always fancied trying that. But
that's a fabulous idea.
Give it a try.
Yeah. It's never going to happen. Never going to get time to have a go.
Baby step. Let's go with the iPad, and then we'll try that
one. Lindsay, do you have any other questions for Jenny before we say goodbye?
I don't. Jenny, thank you so much. It's been really wonderful to talk to you. And
Jenny, absolutely my pleasure.
Can you let us know where people can find you first?
Sure. I'm on Facebook just under Jenni Gregory. I'm on Twitter under Jenni Gregory, and my Instagram is also Jenni Gregory. Not very clever. I'm sorry about that. But
that's Jenny with an I. Jenny with an I.
Oh yeah, Jenny with an I. I'm so sorry. Yeah, Jenny with an I.
Not a Y.
Not a Y. But
links will be in the show notes for both the podcast and the video. So if people would like to search you out, they will be able to do so. Thank you so much, Jenny. This has been absolutely fabulous. Would like to have you back on.
My pleasure. Anytime.
We can talk a little bit more about the tech and the photography and all that stuff, and of course what you're working on.
Stuff I love. So cool. Okay. And you guys can tell me how you like your new iPads. So
well, mine I can already tell you now because I've been working on it for a while. But yeah, we'll get Lindsay to tell us all about her experiences, or if she's thrown it out the window.
She won't. She'll get it. I know it. So,
Okay.
but thank you. I had a wonderful time. I appreciate it. And I love your podcast. And this was a delight to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jenny. See you next time.
Sounds great.